And I think beauty is really the energy that flows, especially around love or around those types of energies, because most people are seeking beauty in one way or another somehow. Even when we're choosing our life partner, there's something about that person that's more beautiful than the next, or that they hold something. Or we love sunsets, we love flowers, we love all those things, and they're beautiful. And so for me, it took many years of work and all of that to uncover it, but that to me is like what makes the world go round.
I think, does it inspire people to live better, live more free? There's something about, I'm a community gatherer. Like, I love hosting and gathering people towards a cause or a mission or an idea. And so if what it is that I'm doing fulfills that and activates people to lean in to themselves and then serve the mission, that drives me.
Today, you get to listen to a conversation with amazing relationship coaches, my new friends, Rono and Sierra, who I know as relationship coaches, colleagues with hearts and missions that are similar to mine, although the way that they live their mission is different than mine. And I actually don't know that much about them other than that they are high quality people doing such interesting, meaningful work, which is very relevant on the Intimate Marriage podcast. So I know that's kind of an odd intro, but I feel like this conversation inherently is sort of intimate because we're friends, but I don't really know most of the details of your life. So I know you've been married for 16 years, and I know all three of us have been looking forward to this conversation. So welcome to the Intimate Marriage podcast.
Thank you. I love it. Such mystery ahead.
I think that's the best intro we've ever had.
Totally.
Okay, well, is there anything that either of you would like to add to it in terms of, well, anything?
Well, I would say we've known each other our entire lives. So we have a long history of friendship. We grew up in the same hometown. And then we were business partners before we even became romantic. So we have a very long history plus business relationship, then into romantic relationship.
The most unique thing about us is Sierra's a few years older than I am. And so when we were in high school, she was the upperclassman. So we didn't really hang out as much, but our families knew each other and we hung out a bit in that regard. And then we became friends, and we were friends like in our adult years for many, many, many years. And then, as she said, all those things.
And you've been married for 16 years now, right?
We've been together for 16 years, married for 14, and business partners for 18. Actually married 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah,
So now.
years. So, yeah.
I think it's so interesting because I have had couples, clients that I've coached and also interviewed on the Intimate Marriage podcast who they're married or committed to one another, and then they start a business together. Or one of them has a business and the other one joins that business. Each of those being rather unique circumstances with wonderful potential and serious challenges that need to be worked through. But I don't think I've ever been aware of talking to a couple that were business partners and then the erotic connection opened up. So I want to ask about that transition. First, as business partners, was it just the two of you, or were there any other business partners as well?
It was Sierra's business. So, well, actually, no, she reached out to me. I was just leaving one career path and I was looking for my next thing. And she reached out and said, "Hey, I have an opportunity with this course that I'm in. And I think that we could start a graphic design company real quickly and service all these individuals who are looking for what I have." And so I said, "Oh, let's talk." And so it ended up turning into a business. So we started a boutique graphic design company for female entrepreneurs wanting to get online, get out into the world.
Build their funnels essentially, but more beautiful than the way that it was. It was very text heavy at the time when this was going on, and they wanted more well-designed business funnels.
Back then, people were like, "What's WordPress?" That wasn't even something that was like a household name. And so, yeah, so we did these beautiful design things. Then she hired me to be the creative director of her magazine, which she had at the time. And that's where it all kind of started. And because we were friends, we hung out a lot. And what ended up happening is I lived in Venice Beach, California, and she was up in Hollywood, California. And I had just sold my car because it had been sitting there for 9 months because I never needed it around Venice Beach. I just walked or rode my bike, and I just sold it. And then she just hired me to work for her magazine. So I was taking the bus up there until I was going to switch it up and get something else. But it was a startup. It wasn't like a big, huge salary for her magazine. And so what ended up happening is I would come up and stay for 2-3 nights and just sleep on her couch before I went back to my place. And this is before Zoom and, we'd be on the phone doing work meetings versus, the amazing technology now. Because of that, like our friendship grew a lot more intimately. We just hung out a lot. And then we started finding each other. We found out that we were missing each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when it first started to light up. We're like, oh, actually, there's more here. There's more than just a friendship and some business.
And then one night, his wandering hands got the best of us both.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I know that would be fun to ask a follow-up question on, but I have a different one next. Specifically because the first business that you were in together, when you reached out, Sierra, to ask if Rono would like to join you, what is it that had you think Rono would be so great for that? Specifically because it was very pioneering to bring softer, more aesthetically pleasing, so-called feminine beautiful designs instead of this very kind of fewer fonts and lots of text, but to make it really beautiful. And so to a simple person, we might think, oh, well, why didn't you ask a woman? What is it that had you ask Rono to join for that adventure?
It's kind of hilarious, I would imagine, because what I think you're going to say is the same reason you weren't actually attracted to me in the first place, but eventually you became attracted to me for.
Oh, way to set it up. I don't know we'll see if I land there.
See if you go there.
At the time, Rono produced a DVD for a guru that he was working with. And I had helped him through my Hollywood connections. I was also in the film production world at the same time or for previous years and leading into. And once the DVD was finished, he thought, well, how can I get this out there? And so he knew I had a magazine. And he said, well, maybe I can advertise it in your magazine, but they didn't really have a budget. He said, oh, maybe I was going to a lot of conscious events as well, like the Conscious Life Expo and things like that. And I had a booth because I was media. So he was like, oh, this is a great spot where I could maybe share the booth or help you and then promote this DVD. And I was like, great, I could use the help and you could use the promotion. So we started to collaborate in that way. And then that led to him designing a bunch of ads for my existing advertisers. And so I knew he had the chops to create what it was that we were doing, and he knew the magazine. So when I was in this marketing class where we were being shown how to set up our first, what they call the squeeze page, all of the women, I was not going to have an ugly squeeze page because I had a whole graphic design team and I had this magazine. And I was like, what is with these ugly squeeze pages? Essentially, when I showed mine, I had a different designer that I was working with design mine, and she did an amazing job. And everybody wanted that. And I knew, no, I can't just give you my designer. I need to create a business. But I was like, well, how can I create a business? I'm already running a business. I was also a freelancer in the industry. I said, Rono, you're here. You seem to be hanging around.
And we have a lot of female designers on the team as well. My number one core principle in my entire life is beauty. If I had to sum it down to one thing, it's like beauty. That's number one, and then everything else follows.
Why? That is not a standard successful male entrepreneur's number one life principle. And you say it as though, the same way somebody else might say integrity, but you say beauty. How did you even discover that is your thing?
I think through lots of years of pain and suffering, for sure, and workshops and delving into my own self. But I think why beauty, or how is it? So love is also a very powerful, energetic, and they could say that love heals all or love conquers all, or, you've heard that before. And I think beauty is really the energy that flows, especially around love or around those types of energies, because most people are seeking beauty in one way or another somehow. Even when we're choosing our life partner, there's something about that person that's more beautiful than the next, or that they hold something, or we love sunsets, we love flowers, we love all those things, and they're beautiful. And so for me, it took many years of work and all of that to uncover it, but that to me is like what makes the world go round. Do we like parking lots or green fields? Like most people prefer a beautiful park over a parking lot. It's just beautiful and it draws us, it pulls us forward. So I think that's like the energy that actually is creating a successful entrepreneur or a successful business person, at least for me, is beauty.
Well, Sierra, what would you say your number one guiding principle is?
I think, does it inspire people to live better, live more free. There's something about, I'm a community gatherer. Like I love hosting and gathering people towards a cause or a mission or an idea. And so if what it is that I'm doing fulfills that and activates people to lean in to themselves and then serve the mission, that drives me.
That's such a beautiful example of what I would call uncompromising intimacy, in the sense that you each have your own guiding principles, your own core value, whatever you want to call it, and they're so synergistic. It is my conviction that the ultimate vehicle for personal growth is intimate relationship. Let me ask you, Sierra, what have you learned about yourself as a result of being married to Rono?
Oh my gosh, so much. I feel like I've learned to trust my intuition more, and I've learned to be able to ask for what I desire more often as much as possible, because he's so supportive to that. Like that's what he wants and asks of me all the time. And so this constant reminder, this constant encouragement, and this constant full request, like that's what he wants the most from me. So I've had to trust myself and then trust the ask, and that I wouldn't be rejected. Not to say he's always going to fulfill it, but he's pretty good about fulfilling it.
Unless they want it.
He's pretty good about fulfilling it. In fact, I can't really think of a time where he wasn't. Is how I ask.
Okay, that's beautiful. Rana, what about you? What have you learned about yourself as a result of being married to Sierra?
That guru that I worked for and I made that DVD, he told me, he's like, you need a woman or you're just going to spin off out into the ethers in your life. And you need a grounded woman that will hold you accountable to yourself and call you forth. And so it hasn't been easy and we've worked it out. The first 5 years, it was more challenging. The next 5 years were great. And these past 5 years have just been like heaven. I think what I've learned is that the more I stand in my power as a man, both in consciousness and in care and in love, but not waver and not be mean, but be firm and be steadfast in the fullness of myself as a man, the more we both get to win. And it's about being direct. It's about being clear. It's about standing strong in myself versus I've learned patterns early on of like how to get my way by like, well, hey, how about this? Or how about that? And we say nobody likes a wet noodle or a flabby ask. Exercise your ask and receive muscle, or you get a flabby ask. I think that's what I've learned the most is that if you're in a committed partnership, whether that's a marriage or not, but the ride or die, you're in it for the long haul and you care about each other, which I imagine most of your listeners are in that type of relationship or at least striving to be in one. You have to be that person. You have to hold that space as a man and really be firm in that so that this beautiful flower next to you can blossom and that she can feel safe to be all that she is. And sometimes you have to put in a little bit of extra effort, and sometimes that means she needs to let go of whatever she's thinking it's supposed to be in order to meet me in that space. But we've been navigating that very well in the last 5 years in particular. So to answer your question and wrap it up is I've learned to be a better man, which doesn't necessarily what it looks like out in the world, but it's about being tender and kind and caring, but firm and unwavering.
I would ask each of you to actually just keep going, but instead of directly asking follow-ups to what you've each just spoken, I'd like to transition to how you bring the lived experience and wisdom you've each just articulated, how you bring that to other couples in your business context. And let's start with your definitions of what a power couple is and what a visionary couple is, and how you want to support such couples.
We believe that a power couple is a couple that is not just successful, but is aligned, is synergistic in what they're up to, and that they see their relationship as a catalyst for their success, and they're willing to walk the path. We say coupleship as path, Eden World, our company, because it is this evolutionary growth. You said it in the beginning of this interview already, but it is the spot where we can grow the most. as a human, especially when it comes to our intimate partnership. We believe that a couple that is mission driven, impact driven, and on their path, but they're leveraging their relationship in service to that. And they don't necessarily have to be in business together, but they're both striving towards creating something that's greater than themselves. And then visionary couple.
I think a visionary couple is very similar. They're up to big things. They have big ideas. They're not getting together and talking about how the Masters was as the main point of the conversation. They might. I enjoy that as well. But then the next conversation is, all right, how are we going to improve this? How are we going to change over our factories from this new tariffs that are out? And like whatever the things are, they're just bigger conversations about how we can improve our lives in multiple different areas. It doesn't have to be in any particular type of field.
But basically, power couples and visionary couples, they inherently are using their relationship to fuel their life.
Yep.
That's like the essence of it and how I express it. So I think for a couple like the two of you, or quite frankly, like my husband and me, those are real words. There is real meaning. That's not like a vague kind of ungrounded poetic description. It is real that my marriage fuels pretty much everything that I'm doing in practical, energetic terms and inspiration. Does that mean that I'm always thinking about it? No, but when I fill up my car with gas, how often am I thinking about the gas station while I'm driving around? Well, I'm thinking about my marriage a lot more, so it's not the best analogy. For someone who's listening and that just is sort of vague, I assume you talk about this often enough. I don't know if you have analogies or a story to illustrate it or just a definition of what it means to use your relationship to really nourish, cultivate, and fuel your adventures in life.
You might hear this in other areas, like some people begin their baseline existence from either like spirit or God, right? That's the first relationship, then relationship to self, and then relationship to partner. And then everything else after that comes next, like the kids or the business or the life. And so we see that the work that we do in our intimate relationship gives us a greater understanding of who we are. Like when I was single, for example, I had done a ton of personal development and I knew who I was and I had some evolutionary moments and a lot of growth. But it wasn't until I got in this particular relationship where he could challenge some of my stuff that I couldn't even see or experience about myself as a non-coupled human. And so that was able to help me in my leadership and running my business. It was able to help me in how I thought about money, even able to help me in how I related to other people in my world, whether that be friends or potential business partners or anything like that. So I feel like the way that relationship, the container of sacred, intimate partnership holds and evolves you. And also it gives you a place to really lean into, to feel supported, to feel the connection that we like to say in our world that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 + 1 actually equals 11. It's like an amplifier and a multiplier of what's possible. So not only does it help me become a better version of myself, which impacts all these areas, but it helps me leverage more about what I can create and do with a partner that's also committed to doing the work.
And I think there's one little distinction that I want to add to this as well. This is in a committed relationship. Because the reason most people don't get the same kind of growth as a single or individual, or if they're sort of committed to a relationship, is that none of us like pain and we move away from it. And so if the pain gets too big or the discomfort, or you know what, I'm just done with this.
I'm just going to change jobs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you're in a marriage or a committed relationship and you're really committed, like, have we wanted to throw in the towel before? Absolutely. Have we talked about it? Sure. But then through that conversation, we realized, oh, wow, it's not going to get any better anywhere else. There's no magic pill. I'm just going to find some other cute girl that's just fixes all the things that I'm actually not working on, right? Because it's not about her. We're the sacred mirror and we're just mirroring to each other what's really going on. And so I think that based on everything that you shared is that we mirror it. And so when you have that in your face every day of your life, you're either going to change it or you're going to leave. And if you're committed, you're going to change it. You're going to keep growing. And so the fastness, the level of which couples have an opportunity to be enlightened or move all the way through things is we have an unfair advantage if we're committed, because we can just move through things so much faster.
Really well said. And I know you said earlier the name of your business is Eden World, and it sounds like it's set up largely virtual, but also sometimes in person, as like a village for power couples, for couples who either are committed in using their relationship in the way that you've each articulated so eloquently, or they aspire to. So if we think of it as a village, let's say I'm coming with my husband from the distance and approaching the village. Like, where's the door and how would I know to go in? What draws people into this world? And if my husband and I were to enter it, this world meaning Eden World, who's there? How do we interact with one another? Because there's a way in which you're both so playful and kind of respond to gamification, create gamification. I'm not really sure. And so when I hear you talk about Eden World, it sounds a little bit like a lived D&D game.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Will you give us some nitty-gritty for this?
I'll try to not get too down in the weeds on this, but share about it. Our goal, we've got basically 3 different ways that you can play. One of them is completely free, and we offer online
Monthly online gatherings.
there's teachers and you can learn from them, and there's breakout groups where you can connect with other couples. And then there's a paid version of that where you get access to our entire library of over hundreds of different classes, courses, and things like that, because we bring in experts and have master classes and all sorts of fun things. Plus, you get some time with Sierra and I in more of a coaching and support sort of format. And then we have our Visionaries Club, which is a much more higher investment to be in, but that's where we're doing the deep dive masterminding on our relationship.
And how it serves the world.
Yeah, and the relationship and how it serves the world. A lot of people either are focused on business or on just relationship. Because power couples are deeply involved in the entrepreneurial nature of things, we're not like working on your business, but the business conversations are happening in the breakout rooms or in the hot tub after we're in the workshop space working on our business.
Yeah, and I would add, I love that you use the word village, because we took the old adage, it takes a village to, grow a child, and we believe it takes a village to evolve a couple. And so a lot of what the couples that find themselves in Eden World are really looking for is connection to other couples that are equally as committed, that are growth minded, and that are movers and shakers in the world. And we hear often from the couples that do find their way into Eden, they're like, wow, I don't actually have anybody else in my life that's a couple like this, where I can actually be vulnerable about my relationship, not be judged, that no matter what's going on in my partnership, my partner won't be judged for it. The whole relationship is held no matter who's having the issue. They see how quickly they can move through their patterns because they see themselves reflected in the other couples, because it is a peer-to-peer network.
That's the biggest difference.
That is the biggest difference. So
Peer-to-peer.
yeah, so the word village it's like they're looking for other amazing couples where they can be themselves and learn quickly and feel a sense of belonging, and also normalize the things that they go through.
What I also love about our village is it's like a village because we've got 25-year-olds all the way up to 82, I think is our oldest member. And nothing is off limits. Like whatever is going on with couples, from menopause to favorite sexual positions or whatever it is, like
Trauma.
to trauma, we're
to
talking about all of it.
history
To
of-
death. It's such an amazing thing when you can ask, the stereotypical grandma and grandpa about things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to
I
ask
like to refer to them as our elders.
our elder.
Not all of them are grandmas.
Yeah, none of them are they're all grandma and grandpas, but they're amazing. They're more turned on than the rest of the community.
Yeah,
They're
they're lively. They're lively. They're very lively.
Yeah.
And why do they choose to join?
Because they love the energy of the type of conversations. We have one couple in particular that one of them's about to turn 80, and I think his partner is maybe in her like late 70s. And they constantly say, they're like, our relationship's great. Everything's great. They're living their best life. But what Eden does for them is it helps them polish the edges, right? So there's some edges. So they learn new things, which they like to not be stuck. Her husband, who's the older one, sometimes he can get a little bit stuck in things and just be, more fixed mindset because he's comfortable. He's lived his life. He's almost 80. But Eden keeps them having the conversation, has them learn new things, has them, find the little things that might not have been an issue, but work on them. And then that opens up more intimacy and connection. Plus, they love how fun and playful and heavily influenced by the Burning Man community. So we like to play dress up and have DJs and dance parties and luxurious places to hang out in and do the deep work. It's a big range of experience that, while authentic, right? They've met some of their best friends. This is a couple that has been in so many different communities and all over, the United States and other countries. And they found the bestest friends here in Eden World because you can be real and get right to it and also have a lot of fun.
I just think everyone should know about this, which is why I'm so glad you're talking about it. And, maybe many people join, maybe they don't, but just to know that this exists because there are communities around, so many different communities of golfers and community book clubs and so on and so forth. And outside of church contexts, it's so rare and so needed. It's just phenomenal to hear you describe this. So, you have something that you want to offer?
Yes,
Mhm.
we do. One of our practices that Sierra and I put together is because we were business partners first, friends, then business partners. We are really, really good at being business partners and friends. And when we have intimacy, it's awesome and we're great at it. But it often gets on the back burner because we're so focused on those other things. So,
Which we've known because we talk to so many different couples that regardless of your history, intimacy tends to be the thing that gets put on the back burner for lots of different reasons in relationship, whether it be kids or the business or just life stages or whatever.
so we created this formula called the Epic Date Formula. And Epic is an acronym that stands for erotic, playful, intimate, and creative. And it's designed for power couples. If you don't have to be in business together, if you have a family and you've got a goal, even with a family, you're trying to get somewhere, even with a family, raising them. And so this formula, we say that if you're leaving your work at work, you're doing it wrong. You got to bring your work into the bedroom. The commitment, the whiteboard,
The ideas,
the
and this could be life vision, business vision, vacation vision, whatever it is, but it's about the thing that you're achieving or striving towards as a couple. You can workshop it and have sexy all in one container.
Yeah. And so instead of just going out for dinner and being like, oh, yeah, isn't this great? Now we're having date night. Isn't this fun? It's a whole process where you can do a small one, you can do a whole weekend one. And it really helps you hone in on the erotic parts of your relationship, how to be more playful with one another, because that sparks intimacy, that sparks just fun. Most couples that are interviewed, like the key to longevity is playfulness. And then it helps with the intimacy because there's practices and games and things like that that help with intimacy.
Yeah. And even though you might know your partner very well, there's always places that we've been fearful of sharing or, yeah, exactly. We haven't quite gotten there.
And then the
Yeah.
creative spot too, like we teach you how to, like, you can do vision boards, and this can be for your family or for your business or for your relationship. And so we'd love to give that to you and your audience as a gift. And they can find that at edenworld.org/ the name of this podcast, which is Intimate Marriage. So edenworld.org/ intimate marriage. And that's a beautifully designed guide. And we got lots of free goodies in there as well for you. No obligation at all, but it's definitely worth downloading and taking a peek at.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, I'm definitely gonna download it at edenworld.org/intimate marriage. But I have a question. So, epic dates. E is for erotic, P is for playful, C is for creative. What is the I for?
Intimacy.
Okay, well, we're gonna end on that note. Anything you wanna say, Rono?
A great marriage is made by design. And it first starts with commitment. It then goes to working on it. And the work doesn't have to be hard. It can be fun. It can be at your pace. It can be however you want it to be. But without commitment and without ongoing communication and new ways to connect with one another, that's where we grow apart. And then we can't even see each other anymore. So it's important to constantly check in with each other on a regular basis, whatever way you do it, so that the longevity of a relationship lasts.
As a relationship, we're either growing together or we're growing apart. So the more that we can lean in and grow together and create together and align together, the more we're going to stay connected and grow as a couple.
I love how the two of you embody that, and facilitate that for others. So thank you so much for being here.
Okay,
It's
thanks
a
for having
pleasure,
us.
pleasure.
Mhm.